right? And if you need to bring it up slightly because it runs all the way down, you reflect it back from the fabric on the bottom here, right? Yeah, because sometimes that's what we call sometimes it's really hard to get the vanishing line perfectly because it's just like just beneath the thumb here, right? There's a slight division, and of course it's almost like it's vanishing into the dark back. So it's just like you have to kind of gently hint that there is something there. Yeah, because I don't think I draw these, I don't think I drew this correctly, the nails, but I will change it later on if I have to, because it's too early in the morning, and it's just a few little shadows and different shade. If you do it a little too big, too long, it just change the perspective of the thumb, how it sits, right?
It
So
almost
you're
looks.
starting with an HB.
Yes, I do always start with the
Start
HB just
HB. Okay.
to get them going first, and then I see where they are. And then with this patch here, I was just gonna show you in some cases if you can use your homemade one. I actually started a lot of these areas by simply just taking the dirty paper, dirty stump, and then just give me a rough position of the see like that, right? And sometimes I use the side of this. Now, we have been using our stump this way, right? But you can easily also put it on the side because it's nice and smooth there too. And then you just keep going like this and just give it a little rub. So that's how I started with to find out where my major shades are. Not definitely cast shadow, they are all core shadow. Just gently put them in and say, oh yeah, there's more down here all the way. Right? It's just faster to kind of get all the darker color in right away, and then I'll go in there and start shading it.
Well,
So
I could see the stump is really useful for flesh, right? Because it smooths it out like a.
yeah, oh yeah, and like this entire part here, the hand, that's what I did. I using this dirty part of the paper, and then I just kind of gently position where I want my shading in here. So there's a little ring down here, stop above this point. See? And then the rest of this here again. This is just a piece of tissue paper. and literally you can do the whole thing like that to get the overall, right? See? And this hand here, oh yeah, it's all the way down to it's all. See? Already you can sort of see the hint, the gentle hint of the hand, right? Well, you know what? It's not the most difficult things to do. It's just tedious. That's all. And then, of course, this part here, the very subtle hint of some of the tendons and things like that on top of it, I'll leave it till the end, So I'll just go ahead and say, oh yeah, let's just bring some of these. And if you run out of these, you can always just go and touch the extra piece of paper that you put some lead on. See? I'm using the paper towel one. It's easier because with this one, if I go sideways, it got to be big, but then the tip has to be cleaner because if I go like this, the tip seems to keep adding more lines to to the picture that you know what I mean. So when I go like this, right, and then this tip here is always leaving a line. See. Right. So you almost have to make sure you don't have that, and then when you go and smudge it, then you can go in sideways like that and rubbing using the side here. But you know what? It's not a difficult thing. It's just that if you, like I say, if I start up with my drawing, it's a little bit off here, then we're having problems, right? So we're just gonna go ahead and and put some nice shadow down here. And of course, you got to look at your pictures and here, and then the nice contrast right there. You know, the funny thing was last night we had a class last night, acrylic class, and the lady was talking. We have one lady that is driving everybody nuts, but she has bipolar. So when it's a good day, you know, she's really pleasant and she can talk but then sometimes she's so pleasant that she cannot stop talking. And of course, I got complaint from other student. They emailed me and said that, you know why we don't talk? He said, that woman that talk about, you know, this and that said, she just won't quit. And I find it very hard to tell, and for me anyway, to tell an adult, you know, be quiet or to not speak so much. How do you tell a 62-year-old person, you know, I don't know how you, that's what I'm asking you. I mean, you know, you guys probably know.
Well, you know what? You'd probably do it afterwards, right? In an email.
Yes, of course.
You
Yeah.
know, you wouldn't do it in the class,
Even
but
even with doing it after, you know, you have to choose the word carefully,
oh, sure,
you
sure.
know, and how you're going to put it, because this is such a delicate thing, right? It's just like, how do you tell a person if you're in class, and we have that experience before, you know, someone have really strong BO problem. How do you even, you know, approach them with that kind of stuff? It's
Well,
not
I mean,
easy.
yeah, I think you'd want to open, first of all, with, appreciation that they are engaged. So, I mean, I would almost say something like, I really enjoyed, your contributions, and it's really good, to hear your enthusiasm. But lately I've had some of the participants having difficulty concentrating, and they seem to prefer the quiet. So let's try that, or something like that, right? Where first of all,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
compliment her for being so involved. And
Yeah, we see, I know you have the answer.
well, I mean, you mean she may be offended no matter what you say, Willie, right? And it wouldn't be the first time she's had that feedback, I'm sure.
Yeah. And then she just won't stop. Like she
Yeah.
constantly have something to add to whatever I was saying. I try not to engage in any out of the topic like what we're doing now. You know, try not to, because she's married to a doctor, and then of course she knows everything about medical condition as well. And it's just hard. You know, a lot of time I don't respond to what she said,
Mhm.
you know, because if I respond, then the conversation will keep going, right?
Right, right.
So then I'll cut in and say, okay, what I'm going to show you now is this, and then, and then she'll go, uh, Dawn here. You know, she always have to tell everybody that it's Dawn, right? Dawn here, and then she'll, yeah, I know
Oh,
her.
she unmutes herself then, because you have usually everyone is muted, right, in
I
class.
know, but
But she
I
unmutes.
even get to a point where I actually mute her, and then she unmute herself again and stuff like that. Oh, it's just ongoing. But anyway, it's not your problem, but just kind of thought I
Well, let
might.
me email me what class that is so I don't join in.
Well, that's the acrylic class,
Oh,
Tuesday,
okay.
Tuesday
Hi,
afternoon.
sorry I'm late.
Oh, hi, Lucy. No, you're not late. We were just starting talking about how to get these hands started. And if you have the stump, you know, it would be easier. Homemade stump is good too. Rather than trying to start pencil, you know, right from the beginning, a lot of time it's just easier to find a. Okay, where's my paper here? Seems like I'm running out of paper or something. So of course, you know, it's always nice to have, might as well sharpen it. So I'll just started a nice patch here. And then I'm just using this. Right now, I'm just using this position presenting the obvious. And because using stump to position these shades is actually soft, right? So if you need to make correction and using an eraser, it's a lot easier as well. See? So we're just gonna position these, all these here and there, just kind of roughly know where everything is. It's just like applying rouge.
I was
See?
working on my squirrel.
Your squirrel.
I couldn't, yeah. It was good. I think I've overdone it now.
You mean the
not-
watercolor squirrel?
Yeah.
I know that one is a tough one, but you know what? I thought everybody needs to try it, doing at least do one fur anyway. One furry animal. Okay, so then the knuckle just kind of hint of some dirty, just a little bit. I know my neighbors are already, everybody's planting and putting seeds in already. I haven't even done mine.
It's always risky when you start really early.
I know, because that's what I keep thinking. I'm going, I got some basil and going, should I put it into, my flower pot like every year I do, and I'm going, is it too early? Maybe it's too early.
Certainly is for basil. Basil is, it's got to be hot for basil.
Yeah, because we always have that one, freezing night before a long weekend.
I'm trying to do a bit of a mix. Do a few early things, but no to leave lots till the end, especially.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because last year I just killed all my cucumbers because it was so wet out and it was too cold and wet. Mostly probably too wet, but anyway.
You know what the funny thing, you're the second person talk about last year about being rainy. I can't even remember.
Oh my God, it was flooding wet. It was awful. Yeah.
Huh?
Well, because I was digging up the whole garden and it was just sopping wet. Like it was,
Oh,
and it never went. I mean, it's much different this year.
maybe we won't have a frost this year.
I was looking to see if there's any more frost because I want to put on my fountain that has water going through it, and
Yeah.
I'm also thinking, well, that would be best to do when there's no more frost. But I don't see any more frost in the next 2 weeks.
I know, but then they can change too, right?
Yeah.
But you can cover things up too, go out and put a blanket on things.
I know, it's just more work.
It is, yeah.
I honestly,
And there's always the time you forget, right? It's all good until the one time.
yeah. And then, you know what? I'm like, every year I'm doing the same thing. Keep thinking, do I really want to do this still? And then sometimes I go, you know what? I'm not going to do garden this year. I'm just going to give up my community garden. But then when the time comes, you're out there digging away and.
Really,
No,
you
it's
can't
all
give
good.
up on gardening. You're like,
I know.
You represent gardening to me. If you give up, then I'm going to have to give up.
No, I never give up. I just love gardening. I mean, and many times I convinced myself already, I guess, I've been telling myself that it's not really for whatever you're going to get at the end. It's just like the process is nice, right? To be out there in the sun, digging the dirt, pulling out weeds, taking care of the young plant and stuff like that.
Talking to Louise.
Yeah.
Well,
You
I
see-
think what strikes me is how, like, having not done a lot of gardening in my life, but trying to do more, is really how much water is required. Like, it just shocks me. For what little yield I get, right? I think I water this
I
every day
know.
all
What?
summer, and my carrots are 1 inch long. Like, what is the matter with this picture?
I know, that's the thing, it's like, that's why there's a joke about people do gardening. By the end of September, or you save $1.35.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's organic, right? It's
Yes, yeah. Yeah. So fun. I mean, I like the fact that our neighbor, we're all out there, we visit, by the flower beds and everybody's talking, then checking everybody out, see who, what they're growing and stuff. Yeah.
And sharing.
Yeah,
Grant,
and we're
open
pretty
share.
good actually. They always have it during the fall, people would then put whatever on we have a picnic table there, and then people just put the food there so that you can, if you want, you can take it.
Oh, that's nice.
But don't expect anything from me because my yields is all not really that good. This is one tough area here to do because the thumb is hidden, partly hiding in the shadow here. Like I don't think it's that thin, the rest of it. So it's just the power of suggestion here. You need to be able to somehow suggest that there's some kind of thumb here. No, I have this year I started some coleus. I like coleus. So I bought a little package of seeds and I thought, I don't know how many will actually come out. So I put the whole package in a little container and used to see they're like carpet. now, now I have to wait till they get bigger so I can separate them. And my tomatoes are growing so big now. It's time to get into the garden. But then again, I thought, should I wait till, towards the end of the May? But anyway, it's all fun.
Did you start your tomatoes from seed? Really?
Yes, every year I started from seeds and I will have lots and lots of tomato. And
Yeah.
throughout the years, what I do is whenever I eat a tomato and I like the tomato, then I'll save some seeds from there. Yeah. And then sometimes I buy those little one, the mini one, and then if happen one that the color is nice or whatever, then I save it, right? And
I
then you
did
know what?
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how many seeds. I mean, all you really need is 5 seeds.
Yeah. But mine are really small still. You must have good light.
Oh yeah, mine is at least I would say 8 inches tall and nice and fat too, the stem, because I give them a root booster. Once they germinate, I put root booster in there. A friend of mine gave me some of this juice, and it really helped them. I guess that's how greenhouse do it, right? They do it. They put a lot of those root booster, and also lots of fertilizer, a high number in the middle, I think, or something like that to get them so that your perennial or the annual will actually bloom. You can actually see them bloom after like 2 inches high. They're already starting to send out buds. So they also have bloom booster.
Okay, this hand is hard, man.
Well, it is
Can't even
hard.
get the thumbnail, like just the nail. I can't even
I
get it.
know. That's what I was saying, that mine just look kind of funny, but you just have to keep going. I find it this bottom part nail is probably okay. This one here, this guy,
Yeah,
is this guy that I'm having problem with.
yeah, it's a hard one.
And I
Look at
think
this.
I'm putting it too dark, so I'm gonna reduce it by using this to dab it out, just to make it less obvious.
It
I think
looks like
it's-
a gardener's hand with a dirty fingernail.
no. Well, if the rest of the black are not in, then you look like a dirty hand, right? Yeah, I was supposed to go with my friend to Cranbrook um, this weekend, coming weekend, but I don't think we can go now. he can't even go yet. I think if you have a Alberta license plate, they don't want you in BC.
I thought, but he would have a good reason to go. Wouldn't they let him through?
I think they would, but you never know, because then you know what, how they're going to check, right? Because then everybody use that as an excuse. You know what I mean? You know. So then, I mean, if everybody say, "Oh yeah, I have an elderly whatever that I need to look after," they have to go and check it out. That means that there's like, you know, if everybody using that excuse. So they just said, no, if they're not dying, you're good. You don't need to come. And that's Rob, Dr. Rob. But he has been on conference, like, you know, in a conference, listening to all the latest with the coronavirus. And the interesting thing is that I'm sure you guys read about it with the Alberta situation. They go by per 100,000, right? The infection rate. And Edmonton is 405 per 100,000.
Crazy.
Calgary is 600 something per 100,000. And places like Banff, it's like almost 1,000 per 100,000. That means that there are 2.5 times more infections than Edmonton. And the reason being because the MLA there, you know, is going against all sorts of restriction, and Kenny didn't want to put restriction on those important area where they're gonna lose businesses and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that decision is wise, because then the whole province got affected by it because the number went up, right? And right now, most of the UCP strongholds in Alberta, there's 17 MLA that are going against him, and his own party.
Yeah.
So if that happened, that's it. You know, we can never get out of this. And then of course he's trying to make sure, you know, that whatever he's doing is not going to jeopardize his re-election. And I hate to tell you, Kenny, I think you're toast.
Yeah.
I think
Just
so too.
don't even think about it.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to hang on to it, right?
But
I
there's
mean, right
nothing
now
left.
he's not doing it.
Already gone.
Yeah. He even looks stressed, you know, when I saw him on TV talking, and going, oh my God, he have aged quite a bit.
Oh my gosh.
You know, when you talk about the squirrel, Lucy,
Yeah.
it is hard. I mean, for me, it's just, I don't know, when I get older, I'm just so lazy, you know, all this little hair.
I know.
It's like, oh my.
I know. And I just did the tree, which has a lot of stuff on it. But now that I've done it, I'm going, oh my God. Now it looks too busy. Like suddenly. Oh,
Well,
wow.
that's why we pick and choose what we want to do, right?
Yeah.
You know, certain thing I just don't, you know, like for example, in acrylic, I try to avoid any kind of still life or flowers, because with acrylic it's even harder. You cannot shade them, you cannot blend them, and it just looks so stiff. But some people can do it. They just put a lot of slow drying agent or medium in there in the paint, and then they go slowly, one layer at a time. And my brother is like that. He painted the wolf, and took him over a year to just paint the whole entire wolf with a little fur on it.
Oh my God.
I bet it's
You know,
beautiful.
it's that kind of stuff that I don't have patience for it, right? That's why they make it into print. In a good old day, you know, where Robert Bateman will make tons of print, because I mean, to sell each one individually, like a painting, I mean, you got to take forever to do one. And of course, like what kind of price do you charge on those? Like,
Well, that's like drawing, right? I mean, that's exactly the
yeah,
problem with drawing. It just takes forever.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Uh, this is hard.
I know the vanishing line is the hardest thing to me. You know, you want to be able to see that there's line there, but and it's the hinting, right? So when I go like this, I do I blend the two together, make sure the darker area remain dark, and then the vanishing part, you know, you just kind of somewhere in there, right? Yeah. But hopefully next one we'll do is some simpler one. But this one, like I said, you know, when you get it all done, it's gonna be spectacular. Sometimes you feel like a dentist or whatever. You keep changing pencil like a tool.
That's important.
4B, please. You know, when you go to a dentist, they always give you, they talk to each other with this code. I think it's code or something. It's coded.
Well, you know, Willie, we're only like, well, you're not really retired, but I'm just retired like 2 years. So if I'm already sick of doing this, I'm hooped, because I've got probably another 30 years of retirement in me. So,
Yeah,
well, so I can't have a bad attitude yet.
but you can always switch when you get tired of drawing. Then you can always switch to painting. Go back
Yeah.
and forth.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And then you, on the process of doing all this, you realize that what you like and what you don't like, it's almost like a little self-discovery thing, you know.
True.
Like I said, some people love this shading business. They can do all day shading and make it as real as possible.
That's true. One thing about this is you can always go back in your book and add more to every one of them.
Yeah.
And you can erase your mistakes, right? I love that.
Yeah. Unlike the marker one from last week.
Oh yeah, did you do that one?
Yeah. Well,
Oh, you did too?
I did most of it until I got sick of it.
Well, you can do more or less. I mean, if you were to say, go and draw some historical building in Alberta, and each one of them, as long as the outline, the windows, indoors in the right place, and the rest of it just
I'll
minimum.
show you what I did. Can you see it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. See?
Before we even started, I had kind of shaded it, like done sketching. So then it's half sketched and half ink.
Yeah, that's okay. You know, you can go and put more pencil line, and what I use using a stump to just rub it in. You know, it will be good.
I sort
Okay.
of
You
stopped.
used to have a lot of leaves in front.
I know. That's where I gave up. I thought, oh, for God's sakes. Oh, I can always add more of those, yes.
Yeah, because both Francis and Pat also did theirs, and Pat had quite a bit finished. Well, for the whole entire picture.
Oh, good.
And Francis needs a little bit more dark color here and there. It's like surgery when you're doing drawing like this. You know, I have a neighbor. Well, the reason why they're so bossy is because the partner, there's two ladies that live across from me. She's the president of the condo, right? And and oh, they're just bossy. I have 3 sunflower that are dead in my flower beds in a community garden. And I thought, oh, I'll pull it later. When the time could come in for me to clean out the yard, I'll do it all at once. It's driving them crazy. She's the one, remember, she's the one couple of years ago or more, that I planted some kale, and then I let a few go to seeds because I want to keep the seeds so I can have more seeds to plant the year after. I was teaching in Red Deer, and she pulled them all out. And then she came and told Rick that those are weeds.
Oh,
And of course, Rick called me up and said, he's pulling your vegetable out of the garden. He said it's weed. And I said, those are not weeds. Those are my kale. I'm saving the seeds, right? Oh, and he's like, how do you deal with people like that? Why don't you just mind your own business, doing your own garden, rather than come to my flower bed and start pulling things out.
that's wrong.
So you have that kind of problem when you're doing community garden, because they just think that they know more than
You
you
should
do.
tell her that the sunflowers are for the birds.
Well, that's what I do every year. I leave some sunflower on, then they went to seeds, and then the birds will come and eat them, right? But oh yeah, but over the winter is fine. But now it's spring. It's time for me to clean up, and she just want me to get rid of stuff.
I was reading an article recently about leaves and how you should leave them. I guess a lot of the bees and bugs and everything.
Yep. Oh yeah, ladybugs, they're all
You
hiding.
take them out until the trees start leafing. And
Yeah,
of course, we're always out there cleaning out.
I know,
Long
raking.
before that, right? We have all of April where we're like staring at the brown grass and just wanting to do something, right? And I'm going,
Yeah.
oh my God, I've got to leave this in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, there's a lot of bugs that are still hibernating.
So you tell her it's for the bugs and the birds and
Oh, you cannot argue with those women. I mean, they're like the Gestapo,
you have to put a sign in your garden. Do not touch.
It's just like because because one of them is the president of the condo, and then she just become really bossy. And Rick has always gotten to fight with them. Last year they got a big fight. Before usually they fought and then they became friends again. And then I never get engaged, any kind of conversation with them because I just don't want to.
What are they fighting about? The garden or?
Well, last year was that we have a few apple trees in the condo complex, right?
Oh,
And we have cherry tree. It was originally my idea to plant a fruit tree because I wanted to, have vegetables and fruits and stuff like that in the fall, rather than just no name trees and then they just produce all these ugly seeds everywhere. So we planted apples and cherries and all that. And we got lots of cherries and apple now because the plants are so mature now that it's making lots of fruit. So last year, the apples were falling everywhere. I went and picked some for myself. I mean, there's still tons of them on the ground. And then every time the guys who come and cut the grass would just simply mold over them, right? So then a friend of mine was making apple cider, and then he was asking me, do you know anybody who has apple? And I said, well, our condo has apple. I said, why don't you come and pick some of them? Because they're all on the ground, right? So of course they came to pick. And then of course, one of the lady who was doing the groundkeeping come over and said, who are you guys? Come and pick apples here or whatever. He said, well, Willie said that I can pick them, right? And then they didn't say anything, but they said to them, they said, well, you don't live here. You cannot pick apples here. So then that kind of came over to me. The president came over and said that, that nobody can pick apples unless they live here. And I said to her, I said, well, Don, explain to me this. I said, right now we have apple every year and no one picked them. and they're all over the ground, right? He said, well, that's how things are. They cannot pick it because they are not, they don't live here. So she basically was telling me that she would rather have them go to waste than, and then she said to me, said, well, if you picked it for them, it would be okay. Now, how kind of reasoning is that, Francis? Honestly,
I don't know.
And I'm going, are you telling me that if I were to pick the whole tree myself and give it to them, it's okay? Yeah. I said, what's the difference? I said, if I get them to pick it,
Okay,
So-
Willie, my thumb looks like I think this person slammed their thumb in the car door.
Are me?
Very fat, very fat. Not beautiful like I think it's supposed to be.
Well, actually, if you look close up, I don't know if she wore any nail polish or not, because that thumb doesn't look very healthy.
I thought it was a different person holding her wrist. Oh, that's what I took it as. Because it is a different hand. It's not a young hand, right? Hers is a very young, broke hand.
It's her husband holding her hand.
I think so.
Is that what it is? No, the husband wouldn't have a thumbnail like that. It is different, different color. I don't know, just weird. Maybe this is the mystery behind this.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, there's another lines in here somewhere. Coming down. It's so hard to see. This line here was supposed to go all the way to the top of the ring. Okay, that's correct. And then behind the ring, it's nice and dark. Oh, I was saying, like yesterday when we were painting acrylic, and one lady was stocking up to go to BC because they have a cabin there. And of course, now they can't go, right? But they want to be ready when he opens. They will have, everything they need. So she was is Costco, buying stuff, stocking up. And then of course, the lady who talked lots said that you guys should be staying home, and avoid Costco. And of course, the one lady just didn't say too much, just kind of, by now we all know kind of what she's like, right? And of course, I said, well, I go to Costco once in a while. I'll go and pick up stuff for me and for my mom and my, and then of course I got heck for it too. That I go to these, public places where there's all these people to go and I don't know, not helping the pandemic. Okay, well, I wear mask. And I said, I'm not there to kiss everybody, to hold everybody's hand. I mean, I go get my stuff and then I get out of there. I mean, you cannot just completely stay at home, and they do. But she lives on the farm in Rinby. So I guess they have most everything they need. Are you in hiding, Pat?
No, I had to go, the sprinkler guy came and I had to go out and do something with the sprinkler, water sprinkler.
Oh, yeah? But you don't go hide and not go anywhere.
No, I golf 3 times a week
Well, there you go.
and I'm going to Costco tomorrow.
I bet it'll be busy.
It
I
was
went
busy.
there yesterday and there was an hour and a half lineup outside the West End. So I went twice in the same thing and I just went home.
Oh, I know. I went on Saturday with my friend, and hardly any lined up. But it's the lined up they see inside to go into the garden to get the plants.
This was the lineup to get into the store.
I know this sometimes can be bad, eh?
So I'm gonna go to the airport one.
Because I never have to wait that long. One time, 2 weeks ago, that was the longest wait for me because he goes around the liquor store and then, going around. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just terrible.
Where'd you go? The West End?
No, I go to the 91st Street.
Oh, yeah, I avoid
Yeah.
that one for sure.
Yeah, that one they said that it's one of the busiest too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I thought it was the
Busiest in
busiest
Canada.
In Canada, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
heard too.
Yeah.
I don't know how they figured that out, but
Dollar volume.
yeah.
It was doing $1 million a day.
Wow. But they do have things that I can't get anywhere else. There's ham. My parents really love that ham because it's nice and not salty, and it's
Yeah.
really tender.
Again on the patio. So I'm thinking that's the part I enjoy the most. So I might just opt out of golfing until we're allowed to ride together again and. No, I didn't see anything, but I mean, I'm assuming we cannot ride the same part. So they haven't said anything about
Ruth's
golfing,
talking?
but
Who's talking?
just waiting, right? I mean,
Well, Pat, your
Oh, Pat, oh.
sound.
Oh, all of a sudden the sun is hiding behind something here. Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna be happy with the second half, but I'm just thinking about this back here. I might even put ink in. Just take a,
Oh, I'm not gonna do that.
just I would just take a Chinese ink, and then just cover the whole thing once I get that little fingers on the back here done.
Uh-huh.
There's too much black to cover. And I was doing artist in resident the other day, Monday. I have 450 kids. We do the Google Meet.
How'd that go?
Very well, except that the principal decided not to turn the mic on, so I cannot directly to communicate with the kids.
Oh,
Yeah, they said that it's just way too noisy because I'm teaching 4 or 5 classes at the same time. Right? Because of the Google Meet or the Zoom, they don't have to be in the same room. So they want to squeeze the entire school, half of the school in, of course. And then that's what happened. We have 4 to 5 classes each time. And of course, if everybody have their mic on, it would be chaotic.
Well, so Willie, because of Zoom,
Yeah.
You're seeing large groups sometimes in one class, which normally you would probably see in 4 or 5 different places around the city.
Yeah.
So are they paying you 4 times more?
No.
should.
No, they don't.
That doesn't seem right.
I know, and that's why I like to do my own classes. And I have 2 classes of my own, and people pay me directly, right?
Oh, yeah.
And of course, it's better, of course,
Which ones are they?
Oh, the one
painting
that
classes?
I have Monday night watercolor class, and then my Tuesday afternoon acrylic class.
is your Monday on par with Friday afternoon, Willie? Is it about the same?
Yeah, it's about the same and slightly different. We're doing different things. we think we do a lot of plein air kind of stuff, you know.
So lots of landscape.
Lots of landscape. We still, I would say, yeah, more or less the same, but just more landscape and more kind of plein air. Simply mean they don't get to trace. They have to draw.
And
Well-
do you use ink and watercolor in any of those plein air? Like if you were going outside and doing a quick pen
Well-
drawing and then watercolor?
Yeah, we more or less just using pencil and sit and draw, and then we paint.
Okay.
And then some people, if they like to do pen and ink, yeah, you can. Because a lot of them are big, you know, quite a few are beginner, but the rest are all experienced painters. So, and also too, starting next Monday, the Edmonton Senior Center is starting a beginners class Monday afternoon at 1 to 3. So
That's good.
So that would be a nice segue from this class of just drawing and then going into your Monday night where you're drawing and doing watercolor.
yeah. Well, the thing is that, you know, there are people who just cannot do weekdays, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah,
of
they,
course.
they have to work during the day, so the only night that I'm doing right now is Monday night, so which is good for them. They don't mind it, you know. Come back from work and then they just paint
Right.
once a week.
So how many do you have in that class?
Well, I have it here, 20,
Oh, so it's pretty good.
20, yeah, and then my acrylic I have 21. So, and they're from all over the place too, you know, not just from Edmonton.
And how many seniors classes are you doing? Senior centers?
Well, I'm doing this one, Swesa, and then CISA, and Edmonton Senior downtown. So there's 3. And NESA, North Side, they cannot seem to pull everything together, you know, and they cannot find anybody who wants to run the programs and stuff like that. So they're still not doing anything over a year now. I think there's some different way of running thing. I mean, the one short part one that I'm teaching, you know, we haven't started yet, but they're paying me 1 extra hour for prep time, right?
Yeah.
And it does, you know, it does take a lot of work to prepare, especially my cooking class. You know, I will be out there shopping for ingredient in the morning. Before noon, I usually just go and find my stuff. And then I come home at 2 o'clock. I'm starting to chop out things and get things ready. And the class starts at 4. So I'm not just teaching 2 hours, you know what I mean? It's just a lot of prep work. And I don't get paid for that. But, you know,
I think we should, I think, because, you know, when we first started, weren't we paying the same amount of money? Or I don't remember, but weren't we paying the same amount of money for classes before when we were going into the Southwest Center?
Yes, yeah, it was $97 before for 6
Yeah.
weeks, I think. Yeah.
6 weeks? Is that the same as what we're paying kind of now?
I think the drawing is much cheaper than that because it's 2 months.
Because it
But
just
the one-
feels to me like they've taken all these classes where you had 6 or 8 people and combined them together into one class, and then you're getting paid the same. Even, I mean, you're not using up twice your time. I understand that, but still, you're drawing a lot of income for the.
oh yeah, I mean that's one of the thing, you know, with some organization they probably need money, and right now Swesa is trying to raise money as well, and so it's different, right? And like Edmonton Senior downtown, financially they're probably one of the best.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about they went to the annual general meeting, and they were telling people about the financial statement and everything. I mean, they have really good reserve fund in that organization.
And
it's
yet the cost is a third of what it is anywhere else, right? They're keeping
Yeah,
their prices
yeah.
low and
And Linda, it's just amazing how she, go and get grants and stuff like that. She's just good like that. Some people are just good, and whereas CISA, oh, it's what a mess there. They went bankrupt, and then they trying to start their programming and all that stuff, and then telling all of us to get cut in pay. And so, and they did fire the manager. So I don't know. Sometimes, you just, I just think that people who run these things should know something about running things. But apparently the one CISA, the one, I'm not sure what happened. I guess they just let her run this outfit for how many, I don't know, for a while. And then found out that she was using money like left, right, and center. And well, everybody's trying to figure it out. The same thing with Millwoods too. Millwood is a big mess too. And then they couldn't even get off the ground, the Millwood one. And they let go of a lot of people too at the various senior center. But the one Edmonton Center, the one that you guys are doing on Friday, nope, they kept everybody going. And remember, in the beginning when we first started, we didn't even do classes. We just got together and we talk about how to set it up and just learning how to use Zoom. And even then, they were paying me for, even though I wasn't teaching, because
well,
they
I,
wanted.
I think, like you said, the administration at Edmonton Senior Center is phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
they're should take full credit.
I mean, that's what she does all day long. She just look for grants, look for money wherever she can find them. She's
It's
like
rare to
making.
find someone who wants to do that because that's so undesirable.
I know it's not an easy task, right? But she's good at it, and she's just constantly looking for money from every places which she can look at. And we were doing casino, and a lot of senior center don't do that, right? It's too much work because you have to get people to volunteer, and then the casino sometimes go into quite late at night. I'm sure you guys have done fundraising with the casino.
Oh, yeah.
I was filling some late night shift. Oh my God, it can be tiring till two in the morning. So,
Yeah. Running chips and counting money and
yeah. And now I did it because for the experience. I have never done, casino fundraising, and boy, what a big job that is.
yeah.
And then what, I get to see all kinds of weird characters in the middle of the night. The most interesting one for me was this woman. She's like, she has to be more than 300 pounds or more, and she on this extra large wheelchair, and like 1 o'clock in the morning, you can still see her, driving around in the casino, and then there are times she couldn't get near the slot machine because there's stool in front of it. So then she will park as close as she can, and then she reach out with the arms and trying to, do her bidding. And I was just standing there looking at her. I'm going, "Are you crazy? Like, I mean, how do you even get in here in this time of it? Is there a DATS that actually would take gambler like herself to go to?" So those are like serious addicts. or then there's some really weird one, and then it's just I can't remember what I was doing. I go with the one guy from the casino, and he counts money on the table or something, and then I have to click it, and then I have to my number have to match whatever, right? And sometimes you come to some table to collect money, you should see the kind of money they got in there. Because like I said, I don't do casino, I don't gamble, and to just find out how people, have the kind of money or they don't, I don't know, to gamble like that. There's I can't remember that room is called. They have 2 rooms in the West Edmonton Mall, I think. It's for the high bidder or the high whatever they call it. I can't remember. Do you guys know your gambling thing?
High stakes? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. And in order to use that room, you have to book that room.
High roller.
High roller. Okay. So have you done one of those before, Pat?
No, I just watch like you.
Because you need to put down $10,000 just to rent that room. Before you even gamble, you need to pay for the rent. Those rooms are for rent, and it's I think there's good enough for up to 4 people or something like that. So I was going into the high roller room to also count money and collect money. And the one night that I was there, there's 2 young Chinese men, young, I would say in the 30 something, and with all these gorgeous looking Chinese chicks with them. And then I asked the guy, how did they get in, like to play this room? He said, well, they rent it. Basically, it's a rental. So you rent the room for $10,000, and then you gamble. And of course, with that $10,000, you get all the free booze and then free snacks. Now, of course, you have to have $10,000 just to throw it away because you're not getting that back. So yeah, it makes me realize when I was there, realize that, oh my gosh, there's money out there. People with lots of money.
Well, as many people are winning and as many are losing. So yeah,
Yeah.
more are losing.
More losing for sure. That's how they make their money.
And Lucy, you and I actually know 2 professional gamblers, both who
Oh.
would be in their early 30s and make a living. I mean, I'm astounded.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they must be very
Online,
good.
right? Online. Yeah.
Now you have to be very good with, and
I remember when it became sort of popular for young people to play poker.
yeah, poker, yeah.
A trend there for about 10 years. Oh, I don't know how many years. And my son kind of got into that. And I was so worried that he'd get hooked,
Mm-hmm.
Luckily it didn't stick. But when he went to Australia for a year and then he decided to come back early, but he hadn't hardly any money, but he had to make enough money to change his flight.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so he just went to the casino and gambled all night until he was up however how many $100. He only needed a few $100, but whatever. Once he was up a few $100, then he went and booked a flight. And I thought, oh God.
That is what we call living dangerously.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
No, I mean, the only gambling I do once in a while is buying 649 tickets. And even that, I think, is bad already. Because you never win anything.
I think people who, I know a few people who sort of, they really do like to play the slot machines and stuff. And, it's an interesting, they really believe certain ones are lucky and they just like so identify with it. And they really believe that they are going to win, I guess. I don't know. I don't like it.
I actually, when I was in Vegas, that's one of the things I went and looked, is how people gamble. And it was really interesting because, me, I'm always asking question. And I went to the gift shop nearby and they were selling diapers, right?
There was what?
They were selling diaper.
Diapers.
Oh, no, for adults.
Yeah. So then
Oh.
I asked the salesperson, I said, how come you have all these diaper here? I said, what is this? Are there a lot of old people that need to wear diapers or something? I mean, right next door to the casinos and all that. He said, oh no, he said for those gamblers that don't want to lose their seats, they wear diapers. And then because sometimes if they get up to go pee, someone used the machine and they might win millions. So they just wear diapers. I said, well, so how long can they stay there with it? He said, as long as they want until they smell, because because there's a security guard that goes around smelling these people who has been there for hours and hours and hours. And then if they truly, truly, really stinky, then they have to force them to make them to leave the spot to go change. And I thought, wow, that is like, that is insane, for those people, a true addict, right?
Well, I am basically sketching everything but the fingers. I'm doing the background, I'm doing the cloth. I'm just
And avoiding the finger.
everything but the hand.
Well, look at, I'm just working on this part here. I mean, but we have to kind of do it together. And then once you get going, then you'll be fine. And those pearl,
Oh my God.
I would just do a circle and then a circle first, and then a little circle in the middle with the white in the middle. And okay.
Is that the Kenny interview, Pat? I can hear. Must be still.
No, that's the Trump. That's the Trump. They're talking about the Trump being
Oh, are they?
banned from
Oh.
Facebook.
Oh, oh, right.
Yeah, well,
Curious.
he is starting his own little network, something, right? Because nobody wants to let him. Facebook is still debating whether they should let him back or not.
No, they made the decision today. They're not.
They're
Oh,
not.
good, good.
Wow.
No.
Okay. Yeah, because he's causing a lot of damage
So
to the
toxic.
country.
Yeah, so toxic.
And of course, one of my students put on Facebook about what a coincidence, you know, the queen just becomes single and then Bill Gates is getting a divorce. I thought that was funny.
Virgo, right.
You know, as if Bill Gates is gonna go and court her. And I don't know if this at this point the queen, if she's young, maybe she will remarry, but if at that age, I don't think she's gonna think about, you know.
She's not young. No.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the back in the history, you know, the English history. I don't know if that well, except Queen Victoria, you know, after her husband died, she really never, you know, considered marriage again or something like that. So actually, I know two friends in the last 6 months separated from their spouse. And you would think that, you know, during the pandemic, people will stick together, you know, but I guess it depends on the circumstances, I guess.
Perhaps being around each other all the time was too much.
Yeah. And I never really asked them anything because I don't think I should ask them, and I don't really want to know why. You know, so I just basically said, well, if you need to talk to me or whatever, you know, you can. So we chatted sometime on Messenger. As a matter of fact, there's one is coming today to have lunch with me because ever since he got separated, he has been literally hiding in the house doing nothing. So that's not very healthy either. So I kind of go, well, why don't you come over for lunch, right? And I know that he's got vaccinated already, and also too he has been alone, you know, not going anywhere. So you know, yeah. And what, you know, in this case, I mean, what do I do if someone need help or need someone to talk to? I just say, okay, then. I said, come over for lunch. Last year, I did lunch with a lot of my students. You know, we do it outside, and it went really well. So this year we might do it again.
That'd be nice.
I should get you and, you know, Lucy over.
We can do some plein air.
Well, yeah. Well, no, we just want to eat.
Let's make a picture of your apple tree with the apples on the ground.
Yeah, that too.
So I'm looking at the back of her hand, Willie, and there's shadows there, right? I mean, they're really hard to see.
And which one? This part?
The back, yeah, the back of her hand, of the
This
hand up
part?
front. No, right in the middle. Move over to the
Oh,
right
this.
there. No,
Yeah.
not that one. The other hand. That in the middle of the hand, that is
Here.
palm away. No,
Like
not
here?
that one. No,
No?
the other hand. Her left
Okay.
hand.
Okay, this hand.
That
and
hand, yeah. So
here.
yeah, I'm trying to see right in the middle of the hand. Move your pencil to the right.
Oh, here.
Yes, I'm trying to see what. I mean, it's really hard, but there are shadows there, aren't there?
Well, yeah, this, like I said, tendons, right?
Okay.
And we're not going to worry about it till later. We're going to use a stump. Like in this case, what I'll do is like this. I'll just take a stump and gently, just do a little hint. Like for example, here, the knuckle here, because they're just simply little lines, right? See, like that. And then of course you can see your hand. Each one of them had a tendon that runs.
Right.
Yeah, each one. See, look at them. I'll just stiffen my fingers and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So then on each one of these, if you want to hint it, of course you don't want to tense it out too much either, right? So this is the second one that goes down to here, and then the last one here, so you can't really see it, but on this one you see a little bit, just a little bit of lines that go down to the top of your finger. Just hint a little bit like that. Okay. And then this one too, but of course the light shines so heavily you won't be able to see it. But if you want to put a gentle little bit of hint of line, that looks fine too. See? As you can see, so ever light, right? Yeah. All you have to do is look at your hand and you just move it around, and you can see where the, because they all have, each one have a tendon that but of course you don't want her to have such heavy duty hand because she's probably a princess or something, right? All
Well,
right.
too late now.
Yeah. Mine looks like an 80-year-old now.
Oh my gosh. This is hilarious. Oh well.
Oh, I'm sure you're gonna look fine. Yeah, so that's why yesterday on The View they were talking about, Bill Gates' marriage and everything. And so the topic was what happened after someone was a couple that been married for over 40 years, let's say, and then decided to split, you know? So I guess it's really interesting for me. I have no idea. And I was listening in just to see what they say. Yeah. And really no answer to it, and the other ones that got married a long time, and they said the reason why they stay together is because it's easier now, after you marry for so many years, it should get easier. I think in some way it's true. Or you just decided just to put up, not make a fuss about whatever, right? And then after a while you just got used to it. I don't know.
I think that Gates divorce is pretty civil though, isn't it? They're going to work together
Oh
with
yeah,
all their charities and
yeah, of course.
there's no animosity, it doesn't sound like.
Yeah, no, at that age, I don't think just not like J Lo and what's his name there.
His wife probably just wants to be relaxing and he wants to work.
Yeah, they do have a lot of charity and they give away a lot of money. It's not money issue.
Well, that's more
This
Christian.
isn't the first time they tried to split up.
Really?
Yeah, a few years ago, they were thinking about it as well.
Do they have kids?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I saw something on Twitter or something. The one daughter who's maybe 24 is in med school. She basically asked for to be left to deal in privacy.
Yeah. Oh, they'll be fine.
I think they have maybe 3 children. I'm not sure. I know they have more than one.
You know how much he's worth?
Billion.
600 billion.
That's a lot.
You know, that's why on Twitter, on Instagram, someone was saying that if he were to give 300 billion to inoculate the whole entire world with the vaccine, he still have $300 billion left. And apparently that's how much they say costs, 300 billion to vaccinate everybody in this world.
Well, I had once heard that Pfizer is like, well, it was anyway, $30 a shot, but AstraZeneca is like $4 a shot.
Yeah. That's what I mean. You know, the government, we are looking after our own people. We're paying for it, of course, from taxpayer money too. And then you're some country, you have to pay. And yet we don't even want to get vaccinated. So. Okay, this nail gotta do something with this nail here.
Oh my gosh.
It looks really not pretty nail, not pretty fingers, this one.
They're pretty.
Well, I'm actually worried about my aunt because she's never married, and then she's 3 years older than me, and she lived by herself. And but because you know, she has another sister, I have another aunt living in the same town, so at least, you know, they will kind of look after each other. But my mom always worry about the youngest one, right? Because she's by herself,
And they're in Malaysia?
yeah. And then my brother is there too, so my mom always tell my brother, and they don't get along very well, so my aunt doesn't really like my brother. Nobody does. Because my brother is not an easy person to deal with, you know. He's a funny one, that one. Funny meaning everything he does is have to base on money, has to be money. And his wife is the same way. And they're so rich, they're like millionaire in Malaysia. And yet he's constantly still want to go after my mom and dad's money. It's just so weird that when the more money you have, the more you want. So we over here is like telling my parents to spend your money, you know, just mom, because just spend it, do whatever you want. I mean, we don't sit around and wait for them to give us the money, right? We never did that way, you know. We always we always, all of my siblings, we all worked, and we all tried to make our own money, and never count on inheritance or anything like that. Because they don't have much. Honestly, I don't think my parents have had lots of money. Yeah, it must be quite something to be in a family with, they have billions of dollars. I mean, gosh. Okay, the finger is getting better. I think it's also the reason why it looks funny is the joint here. You know, because you can't really see much. The thumb kind of go down here, right? Yeah, it's a funny angle. And then goes into the dark somewhere here. So you know what I should do with you guys over here? I'm just going to finish this calf here. And then there's some really interesting fabric that goes up. I'm just wondering if I should just go ahead and use the ink to cover that so that you can see what it looks like. So yeah, I'm gonna put my ink over here. I have the gigantic bottle of it. Hopefully it's still.
So are you drawing on 300 or 140 hot press paper, Willie?
No.
Oh, you're drawing on the drawing
Yeah,
paper.
it's actually very similar to 140. It's a cardstock, of course, and it's a hot press, yes.
It is up, okay.
But I'm not sure if it's 120 or 140, but around there somewhere. Yeah. God, I can see that I'm gonna make a big mess with this ink here. I think it's got stuck in there somewhere. It can't come out. So I'll just do a little bit. Like I say, it's getting all over my hands here. Okay, so let's get some ink in here. So where should I start? Right in this corner here.
It takes a long time to dry on hot press, doesn't it, Willie? Would that be an advantage?
No, it
sits on
doesn't.
top?
Yeah, it does sit on top of the paper, but it won't take that long to
okay.
dry. They just they float around a little bit, and then they just. See?
So what's that ink called?
This is the Chinese ink. It's the same as an Indian ink, but Indian ink, they have a little bit of oil in it. But this one, the Chinese ink, they have very minimum oil. That's how they make those from soot, right? And a lot of the Indian ink, they call Indian ink, they actually make it like you're using chemical rather than from soot.
So would that have been thinking of our white lilies we did in watercolor? Would Chinese ink have been nice as a background?
Oh yeah, you'll be super dark, right?
Yeah.
See?
And can you buy that at Delta? Is that something easy?
Yeah, you can buy it in Delta, but I find it, Delta always charge extra. So what I do is I go to Chinatown in the bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, any bookstore in Chinatown, they sell them. But you can also buy online, I think, quite easily. You can get them, especially, some of these online business, they're all Chinese product anyway, right? Yeah. Just say Chinese ink, type it in, and you see it with Amazon.
And you only need to do one coat.
There's the one coat, but you know, sometimes they dry funny too, but it's okay, right? I just have to be careful going around this little finger thing.
So that would have worked in our English cathedral too, that we just finished.
Yes. It covered large area really quickly, that's all, right?
Okay.
And I guess it all depends. This ink is so old, you know, that it's actually become a little bit too thick.
Are you just using a regular brush?
Then you just wash it after. They don't get hard or anything. They just stain, you know.
So this is water soluble, this ink.
Yeah. And remember we were talking about the Jennifer Ansley, you know, she uses ink for her watercolor. Anything that is super dark background, she use ink. It covers nicely and it's very consistent, you know, whereas the watercolor you have to blend, you have to mix and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes you don't get the same, you know, all the way through, right?
So could you add a bit of blue watercolor to that as you're painting, or that
Yeah.
doesn't work?
Yeah,
You could.
can, oh yeah, you can add just about anything. With me, it's my eyes. You know, if I have to look at this close, I can't see very well. You know, that little bit of ink actually covered quite a bit. So. But that really bring the hands out, doesn't it?
Yeah, I love it.
It's just like all of a sudden give you the really dark background there. Nice contrast. Yeah, you know, I have some other bottle ink. I mean, this is humongous. This is like probably 20, 30 years old. And of course it's drying up. Once it's dry out a little bit, it gets thicker, it's just harder to apply. I should add water to it. So did you get the chance to do the other face and with a colored one? Francis?
Yeah, I don't think it's finished. I can show it to you. I think I have to make it darker,
Okay.
but I'll show you.
Oh, yes, yeah. Good.
Can you see the white? I did put white pencil
Yeah,
crayon.
a little bit, the forehead, I can see that, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you get a chance to do the colored one?
The colored one? Which one?
You know, the colored background? No,
Um,
like this kind of background?
oh yeah, no, I didn't do that because I used my paper is gray, right?
Okay.
I used a gray paper
Oh,
instead.
great. Okay, so you didn't go and color,
No,
color
no.
a paper, okay.
No.
That's the problem with inks, you know, it gets on everything. So I'm gonna let it dry. And usually when you paint it, you see how uneven it look,
Mhm.
right? But when it's dry, look at this area here. It dry, nice, even, right? But this is also really thick already. I mean, I need to put water in that one. So I really can't do anything here. I would have to do this bit a little bit here. But those are my pearl. I mean, it's not exactly like white, but
They look good.
oh yeah, let me look at this area here compared to this dark. It's not even the same,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's supposed to be very, very dark in here. So who knows? I might even go in there and put some ink on it here later on, but I'll just use a 4B too.
Hmm.
And especially here too, it's a really interesting dark area because if you see this finger here, you know, it goes in behind and then they come out. So there's something in there, right? But that's what we always call, this is the vanishing point, vanishing line, where you don't know where it stops and where to start, right? But I try to actually pretend that there's finger down here, and then I put a line here, and then I try to make the rest darker behind it. You know, it still works. It works a little bit.
The dark really makes it stand out, eh?
Oh yeah, look at it's just all of a sudden you see the light. The light hits, you know, and this is the glowing part of this part here. That's why in the picture it was like super black, right? And then for me to use a pencil, you know how hard it is to go and make it nice and dark. Yeah, let me see if I can put a touch of ink in there and see what happened. And I use a water brush to smear a little bit of these. Yeah, it works a little bit, huh? It works. Yeah, I think this little bit of black helps to kind of make it so that it's continuing from there.
Can you do a little bit of the cuff?
Which part is here?
Cuff? Yeah, that bit. I'm curious. How are you going to
It's
do that?
kind of a really like so that's why I'm putting the shadowy part here, this first and this one.
Effective immediately. Everyone in Alberta will pose these restrictions. Anytime you cross over or under an overpass or bridge, block your board. The full time, get your anger up. Get your boy hurt because they're not listening to us in any other way. I cannot get a call back from my NLA. I called him numerous times.
Pat, I think you've got the news on behind you there. We can hear. Thank you.
So that's part here, and then I'm gonna shade it again, like nicely. So let's do the shadowy, a little bit of a hint of these. I'm trying to avoid this area here. So let's give it a little bit of a shade here first. And then a little bit on this side now happening on this side. So I might as well use my stump to hint. So yes, on the calf, you just go ahead with a little bit of paper stump like that to give the fabric a little bit of a fold.
It seems to me with everything, the key is to really look closely, right?
Yeah.
Like if your vacuum's broken, you probably can fix it. You just have to look closely. You have to take it apart, dissect it. And that's what this is like.
Yeah, you know, it makes you look at things very closely for sure, right? And it's just like these little bit of a fold, little bit of a hint of the fabric is so subtle.
We're all up to date on watching Handmaid's Tale.
You are, eh? No,
Yeah.
I'm saving it. I think we only watched the first episode.
Of season 4.
I hope is this gonna be the last episode, you think?
Last season. Might
Last season?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I think they should end it now. You know, you just going long enough.
I heard reference to someone make a comment like wrapping it up or whatever. So I thought,
Oh yeah, wrapping it up. I know that, you know, they give you a preview of she burned down the place, so that would be really quite satisfying to watch.
yeah.
Okay, Francis, can you see what I'm trying to do here?
Yep, yeah, I'm wondering about all those little specks. You're gonna do that after?
Then,
You're gonna
yeah,
set your fabric,
then
and then,
that's right. And then you
Okay.
look for the darkest one first. There's different shades of the fabric, right? It's embroidery or some sort.
Mhm.
And this one goes here, comes down to here. I'm just basically using the paper stump here too. No, you know what we have been watching, and I'm hooked too, and we're up to third season now. Is Killing Eve.
Mhm.
Have you heard of that show?
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I've watched the first season and that was enough for me. Just- oh,
Isn't it weird and
Oh.
but it's really well written though.
Yeah, and well acted. I mean,
Yeah,
the 2 actresses are amazing.
I never will picture her take on a role like that, you know,
Yeah,
right? And it's just really I don't know. I don't watch a lot of her show, you know, Sandra Oh.
yeah.
I mean, I know of her work, but for her to do this part, it's really quite a bit of a stretch there. You know, she's not exactly a femme fatale, you know, kind of a.
Just great expression. I love watching her.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh yeah. Yeah. And also too, it's so deep and dark. You know, this story.
Oh yeah, that's very.
I just couldn't get over. You know, it's almost like a psycho kind of a. I don't know what you call it. It's a study. You know, it's a study of this psychopath. I liked it. I mean, you know, it's entertaining. So there's a little beady thing in the corner at the end. Um, so I might even have to just go like that. You're getting weirder and weirder too. After first season, you think you know more or less what's happening, and oh, you know, I wish one day you will continue to watch Francis,
Yeah,
because
maybe I will.
because there are more surprises to come.
Are
Oh
there?
my gosh, it was just something else. You know, it's like one of those shows just leave you with mouth open.
Yeah. I just hate it when they kill off great characters, right? Like that.
I
The fellow
know,
who worked in the office, they killed him
I,
out. I really liked him.
I know.
It's-
But it's interesting too. They were introduced new character in the second season, and one thing about this show that when I watch this now, it make you realize that you think you know somebody. Like I said, you know, if I think I know you, Francis, up to a certain point, but there are so much more to a person than on the surface, right? And I mean, this basically the show is just kind of telling me and confirmed with me that oh yeah, you never know what's lies underneath.
Right.
Yeah, but it's just like wow. I mean, certain things they do on the second season, they don't tell you and they don't show you what she did, but they show you the reaction of the person that she did it to or say something to. The horrible look or what do you call it? The horror in their eyes,
Mm.
and they don't show you at all what you don't know. I don't know what she did. Oh, the person will say monster, you know,
Mm.
and she is a monster.
Yeah.
And then you kind of leave, kind of think, what the hell did she do to her? What did you say to her? And I mean, she doesn't look like she's hurt or anything, but the horror in her eyes.
And I'd watch it in the evening, and then I couldn't sleep. Right? It's just so awful. The images are so horrible.
Oh no, I can sleep really well.
That speaks volumes. We don't know you very well. What evil lurks within
Oh,
you.
no kidding, hey. Yeah, no, I just like I can actually relate to people like that,
That's a scary thought.
Oh gosh, especially if you grow up like I do grow up. I mean, I've seen stuff that you don't even bet your eye when it happens. It's like one of the simple example I can give you was my grandmother. My grandmother, I don't know, she must have, well, she did. I mean, she lived through the war and then she escaped China when the Japanese invasion and stuff like that. And then having a really tough life in Malaysia because the headhunters, they were living near the jungles, and just life is just so hard and unpredictable. So when I was growing up with her, she would tell me that the only person that she would love is me and my brother. Is that the rest of the people doesn't mean anything to me, you know? And it doesn't matter it's an animal, it's a person or whatever. So one day I was only like maybe 6, 7, just right after my grandfather died. And we always have ducks and ducklings and chickens, and we have pigs, and we have all sorts of farm animals. And then we also, because my dad picked up some stray dog puppies on the road, so I also have a little puppy as pets. And that puppy was so cute, we would play with her. And one morning I heard my grandmother was screaming and mad and all that. So I went and see what's happening, and it was because my little pup had killed one of the ducklings. So then she was calling me to come out because it was my pets, right? And she said that I'm going to teach you a lesson, right? And nobody's going to mess with my food, right? And so she took a shovel right in front of me and killed the puppy, right?
Oh,
Just to
that's
teach me a
terrible.
lesson. Just to
That's
teach me a
terrible.
lesson. And it just knowing her, like she's just a very bitter and very harsh, and it's a very hard life she had that have turned her into a very cold person, right? And that was, it'll stay with me forever. It's just like, wow,
Yeah.
so you don't mess with her. And she tells you that. Especially you don't mess with her food.
Well, it was good to know you were loved. If
Yeah.
you did something wrong.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The neighbor will make sure they don't harm me or anything, because she might be 5 foot nothing and wears like, weigh about 80 pounds or something, or smaller than that. But she can just take the shovel going down the road and everybody go hide. Oh, my home neighborhood, the kids, they can never come to my house to play because they're afraid of my grandmother. And I will have to go over to their house to play, right? And some of the parents are not exactly nice either. So everybody was just miserable because life was tough, and when we were growing up, we have no food, and I watch how she did it. She would go and plant things and grow things, and she's so tiny. And whereas my dad has to work, and then he was always drunk, so he never home. And then my mom never got along with her, so she's always with her own family just down the road, right? Only come home to sleep at night, with all of us there.
Was it your mom's mom, this grandmother?
This is my dad's,
Your dad's mom?
my paternal grandmother. And my maternal grandmother was like an angel. Oh, she always, to me, she's a little like this little round and fluffy and soft person, and it's nice to be with her. Whereas my other paternal grandmother, skinny and bony and hard, and and just unpredictable. Yeah. But the thing is that you grow up in that kind of environment, you didn't understand why. You don't think of anything else, but you just think about how hard it is for them, right? And of course, as I get older, she's getting older and she can't do a lot of stuff, so I have to go and find food for dinner, and I cook for her and all that stuff. And setting fish trap in the river and doing all kinds of stuff to just have something to eat, right? And the good thing that my mom's side of the family, my maternal grandparents, they owned a restaurant downtown. So then mom would pick out all the leftover, so we don't throw anything out. When we have customer eat their food and whatever's left on the plate, we save them.
Really?
Oh
And
yeah.
you would eat it at home.
Yeah, we will then take it home and then we put in a big pot. Everything goes to the big pot and then boil it, to basically clean, sterilize it or whatever, and boil it and make the gigantic pot of soup with fish bone in there and with all kinds of stuff in there. But that was food.
So did you meet any headhunters?
Pardon me?
Did you meet any headhunters?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and before I was born, my grandparent, my maternal ones live in town, but my paternal live in a countryside where they have a bunker or something that at night they go hide because of these headhunters come out in the middle of the night to raid the town or whatever, right? Even my grandfather that owned a restaurant, he always sleep in a restaurant. We have upstairs for living room, the bedroom upstairs for the kids and my grandmother, but he will stay on the main floor in the middle of the kitchen in a restaurant, because sometimes these headhunter will break into it, and then he had a big stick, and then he will fight them off. And my paternal grandfather used to show me the scar on his body and on his head, because the headhunter will come with a machete, and then he will fight them and then he will get cut, right?
So they were looking for food. They were stealing food. They were
Everything.
to kill
They
people.
yeah, because they live in a jungle, they don't really have any particular kind of housing. They have very temporary kind of a shelter and stuff like that. Some of them, they built houses on a tree, and then they see that all these Chinese people coming, after the colonization, and Chinese immigrant coming in, and they will bring their cooking utensil, they bring all the stuff, right? So they have things. And of course the headhunters, you may drive by a roadside with forest and everything, you never know who is behind those forests watching you, right? So then, of course, it was a really interesting story, because there's a little boy. She always at the edge of the forest, and then she always watched what my grandfather was doing, because he was a carpenter, and he was fascinated, with all the tools my grandfather had. It just reminds me of the old days when the wolves were watching all the people, you know, the wolves before they become domesticated. They always watch people around campfire because there was always food, right? So these headhunters did the same thing. This little kid was just kind of watching and watching, and then he get braver, and then my grandfather will wave at him, and then he will come closer and come closer. So they actually became friends. So this little boy will come. That was before I was born, and my grandfather was telling me, and the little boy will come and watch him build chairs and build tables and things like that. And then one day, he wanted to borrow a tool, to bring back to the forest to use. And my grandfather lent him this tool. So then he brought into the forest and whatever he did with it, and then he brought it back and returned it. So there's a little trust going on there, and they just kind of spend a lot of time together. So one day the kids came, and I don't know, through some finger and hand language and whatever, to tell my grandfather to go hide, because there will be a big raid that night. So my grandfather already dug a big, like a big hole nearby, and disguised it on top with twigs and all that stuff. And so that night, my grandmother, at that time, my father was still young, and they all went down there. And of course, in Borneo, when you dig a hole, you're always going to get water, right? So poor grandmother ended my, holding this kid, and she was literally standing in a hole in the water. I don't know how many feet deep, covered with twigs and everything, with my grandfather hiding. So the next day when they emerged from the hole, the house was burnt down, and most of the neighborhoods, all the houses were burnt, and all the things, everything was taken from them, right? So that happens a few times, you know. And the nice
And
thing,
there's no repercussion. They don't
no,
send in.
oh no. I mean, nobody would touch the headhunters. When they go into the forest, you're never gonna know where they are and where they hide and everything, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is that little boy at least told them to hide and save their
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
And eventually, he actually returned some of the tools back to my grandfather. So they have a little thing going on there. That's really quite nice. But my grandma was the one that who nearly go crazy because, you know, when the news came that they're going to be raiding the town, then she has to sit in the water, literally in the water
So were
all
people
night long.
killed? Did they
Hmm?
kill people? Did they kill people?
Yes,
When-
they do. So, that was in the 1950s, 40, 50s. And I was born in 1959. By then it's not as bad. So when I was young, and the town gets a little bigger, and of course we have some police and everything, but they're too afraid. Everybody's in hiding at night. And it's just like getting better, but not that much better. So 1983, that's not that long ago, right? 1983, I got a phone call from my mom, and by then she already make a little restaurant out on the main floor of the house, and to make money to support me to go to school here. And the headhunter came at night, and she and my brother all hiding upstairs, and they was taking every cooking utensil you can imagine from the restaurant, everything. So poor mom has to next day have to go and buy more plates and buy more stuff to start, so that she can actually open a restaurant. And so they do that quite a lot. So then in 1983, her friends who down the road also own a little restaurant, and that friend, his daughter was going to university at that time here with me too. And so I got the news from my mom saying that so and so got killed by the headhunters, and that was Agnes's dad, right? And of course, Agnes was here at that time, and she had to receive the news that her dad was killed by the headhunter, and then we cried, and my mom told me that she can't do this anymore. She need to go, and at that time I already did. I asked her, you want to come to Canada? I can help you apply for it. I don't know if you can come in, but I would try, right? So 1983, after that incident, I started applying to get my mom over here, and within 6 months they were here.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, they sold everything and then they moved out of there, except that one brother, he was 4 months over 21, and the Canadian government didn't recognize him as a family member anymore. If you're over 21, you're not part of the family. So he was left behind. And then for years after that, we're trying to get him over, and it's impossible. Yeah, so that's how they got here.
Did you have to tell the government about the headhunter problem? Or like, did they get in because of that or just because they're family?
Well, because they're their land. It's just like the, everybody else beside the headhunters are they're just, what do you call it, immigrants, really, right? Yeah, the British colonized it, and then of course that just invite more people coming into Malaysia to build Malaysia. But the land was occupied by the headhunters for thousands of years, and because then they got driven out, get deeper into the forest. I mean, right now it's actually they're getting better. You know, they're more civilized. The Catholic Church set up there to in the probably 1970s and oh no 18. They actually British went over there in the 1700, right? It was during that time when they were coming to United States and Canada. It was 17 something. 1771, 76, somewhere around it. Do you guys know the history?
Yeah, no.
Well, when is the United States become independent? 1776 or something like that. Anyway, so there in those days already, the British were everywhere, you know, colonizing, and they were in Malaysia in the late 70s, 1700, sorry. And of course, more migrants were coming from everywhere, right? East Indian, and we have Chinese, and then of course the Dutch came too. The Dutch and everybody else there to try to split up the land. Yeah, though I mean, my parents were so happy to finally, you know, and of course, my mom have to leave all her sisters and everybody there. And at that time, my grandfather was still alive, and
That would be tough. Well, thank you, Willie. It's time for you to have your lunch, I think.
is it? Oh.
Yeah. Are we, we'll work on this? Are you going to send out another project? Or?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you
Okay.
something more fun, and we're gonna do a little bit of Zandoodle next time.
Oh.
Did you
Okay.
do the Zandoodle?
No, you demonstrated it to us.
Oh. Okay, but now I'm gonna give you something that it's not as tedious as this, but you know, if you continue to work on this, you will be very happy at the end.
I like doing the hand. It's great.
Yeah, look at the black here. Just bring this part of the hand out
Yeah.
so nicely, right?
So if you don't have black, can we just, I was thinking of just cross hatching dark along the hand.
Yeah.
wherever it's
Oh yeah,
white,
you can do
doing
that. Or the other way that you can do is using a nice dark felt pen, big one, the Sharpies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go make
right.
lunch for my friend.
Okay,
All right.
Willie.